What's up, my friends? It is once again Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I am coming at you from the X Lair. I am here to cure all your ailments related to your lack of exposure to amazing X-Men statues. Today's offering, I guess treatment if you'd like to call it, is the Action Bowen Designs modern variant of Cable. Cable, Nathan Christopher Summers, the child of Cyclops and Jean, sort of in a way. It's kind of complicated. Um, this is the very cool variant of the Action Cable statue that was released recently. That one was, I think, had a large edition size. Represents him in more of his sort of like original costume sort of design, where he had like a lot of weapons and he was just kind of like the ultimate badass. This represents him in an era a little bit more modern, kind of after Decimation, after the whole, Wanda Maximoff changing the Marvel Universe by saying no more mutants, obviously in a more gentle way and feminine way also, and decimating the mutant population down to less than 200 mutants. So after that period, there was this whole the like dark era for the X-Men in which X-Men were trying to save the remainder of the X-Men, and there was like not much hope as far as like their survival, given that they were now an endangered species. But fortunately, this young girl was birthed, the first mutant birth in since Decimation. It caused all sorts of havoc, and this girl, who wound up being named Hope, wound up sort of being the charge of Cable. Like the Cable decided that he was going to take care of her, and he was gonna raise her. And it was during that whole period that he donned this outfit. So this outfit reflects that whole sort of struggle of Cable to keep Hope safe and to figure out, uh, how is he going to keep her safe, and kind of like and also kind of dealing with just the questions of like why she exists, and her significance overall. Just it's like a really interesting time in the X-Men canon of stories. I really liked it, and so I really like this statue because looking at it just reminds me of that period. But it's also a very cool statue. It's got a very great design. It's sculpted by the Kucherek brothers, who are just like masters of the sculpting domain. This was, oh boy, so it was released this year. It was sculpted last year in 2012. This is actually number 36 of 245. Again, sculpted by the Kucherek brothers. 245, gentlemen and gentle women of all ilk. Um, so this was a website exclusive, that was made to order. So that means that Bowen Designs puts it up for order exclusively on their website for like a two week period, and people put in their orders. And if they hit enough orders, then they make the decision to greenlight the project. If not, then they make the decision not to. Looks like this one just barely made it, because 245 is not that big of a production run. But man, am I glad that they produced it. Not only because it's a really cool statue, but because now I have a really exclusive statue, and a really exclusive statues, especially of really popular characters like Mr. Nathan Christopher Summers here, tend to become pretty valuable in the long run. It's just the nature of the collecting. You know, you don't have enough supply, you have too much demand, bam, price goes up. That's just the way it works. So this guy's gonna wind up being a big chase item. If you don't have him and you kind of do want him, I would go looking for him now, because I'm sure a lot of people kind of ordered this on spec. They were just like speculating about its worth. And so now they're trying to dump it, because that's usually what happens when these statues are released. By the way, it's right now, it's the beginning of May, it was released at the end of March. So a lot of people that order it just to kind of make a profit are probably dumping it right now on eBay. So there's enough of them where the price is probably still sort of around what it should have been. what it was in retail. So if you want it, you can probably get it. But I'm gonna warn you, in the next couple of years, if you want this puppy, you're probably not gonna be able to find him in too many places without giving up an arm and a leg for him. So as far as like the origin of Cable himself, I won't go too far into it. I have another Cable statue that has him on the Sentinel head, and I think in that video it would be more appropriate to sort of go into all the very interesting details about who Cable is and how he came to be, because he is very interesting, and I mean, his origin story is like super complicated, and he's just completely related to all like the big stories in the X-Men and all just the big movements that occurred there. So, the dude is has like a lot of significance in the Marvel universe, and thus he's a popular character and people love him. Like, I love him, and most X fans love him. And we had this period of time recently for, I'd say, about I don't know, it was like maybe like a year and a half or so after Second Coming, where he and Hope come back to the present after him having raised her, and they kind of, are then, trying to deal with, again, like people trying to kill her or whatever. Um, he actually winds up dying. Oh, spoiler alert! Again, spoiler alert. After I've already spoiled it, after I've spilled the beans, he actually dies in that story, and it's like a very sort of heart wrenching moment. But you kind of know. I mean, even though they don't hint at it in the comic, like you kind of know, just given Marvel's history, that he was going to come back. Like, and he did. He did wind up coming back right before Avengers versus X-Men (AVX), and now he's finally back. Like, yeah, he actually was cured of his techno-organic virus, which is what caused him to grow this metallic arm. Um, and now he's I guess he's having like visions of the future or something, and he's leading a new group of X Force, um, which is Cable and X Force. That's the name of the book that he's leading, and in the lineup is actually very interesting. It's got Forge and Colossus and Domino and this other dude that I don't know his name. He's like Doctor something. I know, I'm a doctor. He's a doctor. For God's sake, we should talk. But I don't know his name. Anyway, it's a really interesting lineup. I guess the art is done by someone that's. I mean, I like the guy who's doing the art for it. I think his name is Salvador LaRocca. I think he's doing an amazing job on it. But apparently, he's kind of like a polarizing figure. You either hate him or love his work. But anyway, the book is actually like really cool. It's like the stories so far are pretty good, and the art is just great. And I'm really happy to have Cable back in an X Force comic and sort of just leading it and being an ongoing series with him at the core. I really like that, and I'm happy that's finally happening again. That's great, and I look forward to seeing how him and Hope's relationship sort of plays out in the present day. Post all the crazy stuff that happened, and post all the revelations about who she is, and what her ultimate role was to be. That all was finally revealed in AVX. I won't go into the details of that, but that was very cool stuff. Anyway, let's look at the statue, which is the point of this video. You can see close-ups of everything online. First, you have this like very cool sort of like debris base, which just kind of represents like the fact that he's kind of always like in a battle, or he's always like in a dystopic like future scenario where technology, like the world has fallen apart, and there's just like rubble from like millennia just always on the ground everywhere. So I mean, this is like a really great choice for the base, and of course it was designed by the Kucherek brothers, so I'm not surprised that they put in a lot of thought into like what was going to be on the base, just without even considering the statue itself. Like, and I'm pretty sure the base for the variant of this, the modern, I'm sorry, just the action Cable statue, has the same base. It definitely has the same pose. It has Cable with these big ass guns that are ginormous, and probably not for sale in any local gun shop, fortunately. Fortunately for everyone that could potentially be a victim. But they're very cool. Obviously, they were created by the Kucherek brothers. I have some close-ups of them on my blog if you are not able to see them in all their glory here. So the guns are really cool. The costume is like very simple. The boots, just what they're supposed to be. They go up to the knees, and you've got like these like leg plates above them, some straps. Here's like a strap, I guess, holding a gun, like a gun holster, which is very cool. And then he's got the belt with the X here and the X on his chest, done in the same way, and kind of like an interesting sort of like glossy black and red, which is very nice. A very nice choice, for that element. I love all the X's on all the X-Men outfits, regardless of who it is or what era they represent. So I always love when extra special attention is paid to the emblem, because obviously that represents not just a unifying element amongst the statues, but it represents who they are. It represents them as X-Men, and that's why I love them, because they're X-Men. I know that you know, and you know that I know, and that's all we need to know. The blue on this is like a really great choice. It's kind of like a dark blue with like dark shading, which is great. Like it just because I don't know, this statue shouldn't be too cheerful. It's like it should be kind of like dark and just kind of almost kind of broody in its color in its color choices, because it does represent a really dark time for the X-Men, and a dark time for Cable. And Cable's always kind of in a screwed up sort of situation. Like he's a tragic hero. Like it's just sad. His story's sad. I always kind of feel sorry for him, and I understand him from being such an ultimate badass. I understand Nathan Christopher Summers. Anyway, so the middle X emblem, it goes. Obviously, it extends to like the back. You can see on the back, there's like a it's a harness, and then it kind of like part of it extends to one like big ass shoulder plate, which is kind of interesting. I don't really understand the purpose of it besides the fact that it looks cool, but I mean I guess that's sufficient for me, I guess, and it should be sufficient for everyone. And then they did like a zipper there, which is very nice. And then of course, finally, you've got the head, you've got the whited out eye over here, you've got like the very well groomed hair, which is surprising given that he's like a future warrior. I didn't realize that there were a lot of good barbers in dystopic futures, but I might have been wrong. I might be completely wrong. I haven't been to a dystopic future, so I shouldn't make that critique. I shouldn't. Just the face has got the classic kind of star on the right eye, perfect. The shading on that is great. The paint on everything is fantastic. Overall, this is a win. This is a win. I guess the thing that made the statue kind of not too popular when it was initially put up for sale was that a lot of collectors that collect these statues aren't exactly kind of fans of current era versions of characters, because they tend to be a little bit older, 30s and above, because these statues are expensive. They're about $200 each. The average sort of like young collector doesn't have the funds to get these. So obviously the older collectors are going to pass up maybe like more modern stuff, but that's what's going to make statues like this such sort of chase items in the future, such collectors items, because the collectors that did grow up and are still growing up in the era where a version of Cable like this existed, that they read religiously, are then going to want these statues when they get up to my age and the age of people that are older. But there aren't going to be enough of these to go around, so it's going to be really unfortunate when you have a bunch of folks trying to get a statue like this and not being able to get it. It's going to be unfortunate, but fortunately, I don't necessarily personally have to deal with that, because I've got one and I'm going to take care of it, because I really like it a lot. I think it works really well in my modern display. You can actually, I posted some pics of my modern display. I've got him with Warpath, the modern Warpath by Bowen Designs, in his like red and blue costume. I think they make a great set. But actually, this is intended to be a complimentary statue to the action Deadpool that was released maybe a month ago. um, that kind of has Deadpool in kind of a similar pose at an opposing angle. So you can display the two together, and they actually were intended to work together as a set. They weren't sold as a set, but Randy Bowen did explicitly, say to his fans that they were being created together to be displayed together. So I'm not necessarily going to do that because I don't love Deadpool that much, and I have a Deadpool statue that I like, um, and so I display him with Warpath, and he works really well. So to any of you collectors out there that are trying to figure out where to put Warpath, like he would work really well with Cable, and Cable works really well with him. So I'm happy with it, and hopefully you guys are too. Anyway, again, this is the modern action Cable statue produced by Bowen Designs, sculpted by the Kucherek brothers, released in March of 2013. There's a very low edition size to this, so if you haven't gotten it, I would say you get it. And if you're looking at this video from the future, way in the future, hi. I hope everything's peaceful. I hope there's world peace and world hunger has been eradicated, and all sorts of great like treaties have been set up to create all sorts of stability in the world. But beyond that, if you can't find this statue, please just take some solace in the fact that you can at least enjoy the video and the pictures that I've posted and others have posted, and that's enough to just sort of at least hopefully provide you with some joy from this statue that I get to experience having it to the best extent you can, given that you're just watching a video or checking out some pics. But hopefully it's enough, and then you can move on with your life, because there's a lot of other cool things out there you can get that'll make you happy. If you need, anyway, I won't get into the philosophical meanderings of statue collecting happiness. Let's just leave it at there's other stuff, but this is cool and this makes me happy, and I'm sure it makes everyone happy that has it. All right, thank you for checking out the video. Thank you for checking out the blog post. Again, my statue blog is X-Men Statues of Future Past.blogspot.com. My YouTube channel is Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Layer. And as always, X in the box, because ain't nobody checking me. I'll catch you all very soon, and I hope you all take care. Bye-bye.